Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter number 11, entitled The Universal Form, and text number 48. Na Veda Yagyadhyayanair Nadhanair Na cha kriyabir na tapobir ugrehi Evam rupa shakya aham loke Drashtam tvad anyena kuru pravira Na veda yagya dhyayanir nadhanir Na cha kriyabir na tapobir ugrehi Evam rupa shakya aham loke Drashtam tvad anyena guru pravira Na veda yagya dhyayanir nadhanir Na cha kriyabir na tapobir ugrehi Evam rupa shakya aham loke Drashtam tvad anyena kuru pravira Na veda yagya dhyayanir nadhanir Na cha kriyabir na tapobir ugrehi Evam rupa sakyaham loke Drashtam tvaranyena kuru pravira Na veda yagya dhyayanir nadhanir Na cha kriyabir na tapobir ugrehi Evam rupa shakya aham loke Drashtam tvad-anyena kuru pravira Na veda yagya dhyayanir nadhanir Na cha kriyabir na tapobir ugrehi Evam rupa shakya aham loke Drashtam tvad-anyena kuru pravira Na, never, Veda yagya, by sacrifice, Adhyayanahi, or Vedic study, Na, never, Danahi, by charity, Na, never, Cha, also, Kriyabihi, by pious activities, Na, never, Tapobihi, by serious penances, Ugrehi, severe, Evam Rupaha, in this form, Shakyaha, can, Aham, I, Nriloke, in this material world, Drashtam, be seen, Tvat, than you, anyena, by another, Kuru Pravira, O best among the Kuru warriors. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. For neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances, can I be seen in this form in the material world. Please repeat. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. For neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances, can I be seen in this form in the material world. Purport. The divine vision in this connection should be clearly understood. Who can have divine vision? Divine means godly. Unless one attains the status of divinity as a demigod, he cannot have divine vision. And what is a demigod? It is stated in the Vedic scriptures that those who are devotees of Lord Vishnu are demigods. Vishnu Bhakta Smrito Devahi. Those who are atheistics, i.e., those who do not believe in Vishnu, or who recognize only the personal part of Krishna as the Supreme, cannot have the divine vision. It is not possible to decry Krishna and at the same time have divine vision. One cannot have the divine vision without becoming divine. In other words, those who have divine vision can also see like Arjuna. The Bhagavad-Gita gives the description of the universal form. Although this description was unknown to everyone before Arjuna, now one can have some idea of the Vishvarupa after this incident. Those who are actually divine can see the universal form of the Lord, but one cannot be divine without being a pure devotee of Krishna. The devotees, however, who are actually in the divine nature and who have divine vision are not very much interested in seeing the universal form of the Lord. As described in the previous verse, Arjuna desired to see that four-handed form of Lord Krishna as Vishnu, and he was actually afraid of the universal form. In this verse, there are some significant words, just like Veda Yagya Dhyayanahi, which refers to studying the Vedic literature and the subject matter of sacrificial regulations. Veda refers to all kind of Vedic literature, such as the four Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Samar, and Atharva, and the 18 Puranas, the Upanishads, and the Vedanta Sutra. One can study these at home or anywhere else. Similarly, there are sutras, Kalpa Sutra, Mimamsa Sutra, for studying the methods of sacrifice. Dhanaya refers to charity which is offered to a suitable party, such as those who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. Similarly, pious activities refers to the Agnihotra as prescribed, and the prescribed duties of the different castes. The voluntary acceptance of some bodily pains is called tapasya. So one can perform all these, can accept bodily penances, give charity, study the Vedas, etc. But unless he is a devotee like Arjuna, it is not possible to see that universal form. Those who are impersonalists are also imagining that they are seeing the universal form of the Lord. But from Bhagavad-Gita we can understand that the impersonalists are not devotees. Therefore they are unable to see the universal form of the Lord. There are many persons who create incarnations. They falsely claim an ordinary human to be an incarnation. But this is all foolishness. We should follow the principles of Bhagavad-Gita, otherwise there is no possibility of attaining perfect spiritual knowledge. Although Bhagavad-Gita is considered the preliminary study of the science of God, still it is so perfect that it enables one to distinguish what is what. The followers of a pseudo-incarnation may say they have also seen the transcendental incarnation of God, the universal form. But that is unacceptable because it is clearly stated here that unless one becomes a devotee of Krishna, one cannot see the universal form of God. So, one first of all has to become a pure devotee of Krishna. Then he can claim that he can show the universal form of what he has seen. A devotee of Krishna cannot accept false incarnations or followers of false incarnations. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Malitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayham Dadati Svapadantikam Vandayaham Sri Guruho Sri Yuddha Padakamalam Sri Guruna Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakham Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti-Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Na Veda Yagya Jayanir na Dhanir, na Chakriyabhir na Tapobhir Ugrihi, Evam Rupa Shakya Aham Naraloke, Drashtam Tvad Anyena Kruru Pravira. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. For neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances, can I be seen in this form in the material world. So Srila Prabhupada in his purport is stressing how one needs the divine vision in order to see the universal form. Bodhichan Prabhu, writing his commentary on this verse, says, not only not by sacrifices, not only study of the Vedas, not only performing sacrifices, but even by our sadhana, even by our basic processes of bhakti, we cannot see this universal form. We know that Arjuna was a pure devotee of the Lord, and yet Krishna actually has to give him divine vision in order for him to see this form. Early in the Bhagavad-Gita, in the 7th chapter, Krishna said, I'm never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. Krishna says he's covered by the Yogamaya potency. and he reveals himself only to those who he chooses to. This is also stated in Nectar of Devotion. Which verse starts off? It says that when we begin to render service with the tongue, then Krishna can reveal himself. But he's not obliged to reveal himself. Krishna is not forced by us to do anything. He chooses to reveal himself. So here Krishna is talking about even the universal form, which is a transcendental form, but it is temporary. So it's not as much high as in the next few verses we go on to, because Arjuna has already asked to see the four-handed form. So the four-handed form and Krishna's two-handed form, we'll find in the next few verses, are actually the eternal forms, the permanent eternal forms. But even this universal form is divine. It's called divine, and you need divine vision to see it. So Prabhupada also talks about how those who are impersonalists, they have a partial vision of the transcendental truth, the absolute truth. They are searching after the impersonal form of the Lord. This is called the Brahmavadis. They are accepted in the Vedas as authorized transcendentalists, but they don't understand anything about the personal form of the Lord. Prabhupada gives some nice analogies how we can understand the impersonal vision, which is seeking to merge with the Brahmajyoti, the impersonal rays of the Supreme Lord. He says it's like a train you see in the distance on early in the morning or on a foggy morning. In the beginning, all you see is the light on the front of the train in the mist. So all you see is this light. And he says this is like this first realization of those who are endeavoring for transcendental knowledge, self-realization. They see this impersonal form of the Lord as like a soft light in the distance. But then as this train comes closer, you can see that the train has a shape. So this is likened to the next stage, where the yogis meditate on the Paramatma feature. They see the Lord, but they yet don't have a relationship with him. They are seeing the Lord from a distance. They're seeing the shape of this train. But when the train actually pulls into the station, then you can see, okay, the train has compartments. Inside there are people, and the people can get off and come on, and like that. So then we see the personal feature, and that we actually find that the Supreme Absolute Truth is a person who we relate to, whom we want to serve and have a loving relationship with. So Prabhupada is making this point very strongly, that even these impersonalists who are beginning the process of transcendental realization, they cannot understand even the Supreme universal form. Prabhupada says here that they imagine they are seeing a universal form of the Lord. So this is actually described in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam in the second canto begins with Shukadeva Goswami begins speaking. King Parikshit asks the question about what is the ultimate duty of someone about to die. But then he further inquires from Sukadeva Goswami. So this chapter, the first chapter in the second canto, is called the first stage in self-realization. So it's the stage that we're talking about, the impersonal realization. So here, King Parikshit inquires further from Sukadeva Goswami, O Brahmana, please describe in full detail how and where the mind has to be applied, and how the conception can be fixed, so the dirty things in a person's mind can be removed. So here, Parikshit Maharaj is stressing on the fact that this beginning stage of self-realization is for cleansing the heart, for cleansing the mind. So Prabhupada explains very nicely in the purport. The dirty things in the heart of a conditioned soul are the root cause of all troubles for him. As a conditioned soul is surrounded by manifold miseries of material existence, on account of his gross ignorances, he is unable to remove the troubles due to dirty things in his heart, accumulated during a long prison life in this material world. He is actually meant to serve the Supreme Lord, but on account of dirty things in his heart, he serves concocted desires. These desires, instead of giving him peace of mind, create new problems and bind him to the cycle of birth and death. So then, such persons are recommended here by Sukadeva Goswami in this first chapter of this second canto to imagine a Virat Rupa, a universal form of the Lord. As Prabhupada is explaining in this verse today, this is an imaginary form. So in the next verse, Sukadeva Goswami replies, Sri Sukuvacha Jita Sano Jita Svaso Jita Sango Jitendriya Stule Bhagavate Rupe Mana Sandarayedaya. Sukadeva Goswami answered, one should sit, control the sitting posture, regulate the breathing process by pranayam, and thus control the mind and senses, and with intelligence apply the mind to the gross potencies of the Lord, called Virat Rupa. So Sukadeva Goswami is explaining this process of a way of cleansing the heart, and cleansing the mind of all the contamination, of our attachments to the temporary manifestations of this material world. So then, after that, Sukadeva Goswami explains this meditation, where it meditates on the universal form as being the lower planetary systems, like Patala being his feet, and as we come up in the planetary systems, his legs. The earthly planetary systems become his middle. The clouds in the sky become his hair, and the trees on the earth become the hairs on his body. And like this, they meditate on this form, and they imagine it to be the universal form of the Lord. So Prabhupada is explaining in the purport here that what this is about one meditating on the potencies of the Lord. So by meditating on the form of the universe, it's a little bit like when Krishna described to Arjuna his different opulences in the 10th chapter. That was another way of meditating on how so many wonderful things are in this material world, but they're actually energies of Krishna. So this type of meditation, this meditation on the material opulences and the material cosmic manifestation, is to understand some of the potencies of the Lord, and that will start to purify the heart, and one will realize, Prabhupada explains in the second chapter, I think, of the same canto, that if one properly meditates, one can actually understand, by meditating on yourself, that you are not supreme. If we get rid of our false attachments long enough to actually understand, we can understand ourselves simply. We're not in control even of our own body. We think we are. We don't know how food is digested. Keshi Damana mentioned in class last week that these impersonalists who think that they're God, they still have to run to the toilet. If nature overcomes them, they still have to run to the toilet. They're not even in control of their own body. So Prabhupada is explaining very nicely in one purport in the second canto, how by meditation one can understand, I am not the supreme. He goes further and says, by meditation one can understand that somebody is in control of this body, that is managing the affairs very nicely, and it's not me. There's a higher power. There's somebody in charge. And then he said, by meditating even further, so that's a realization of the supersoul. The supersoul is ultimately in charge of the affairs of the material world, even though he delegates to the demigods. But he says, by meditating further, you can understand that there's someone even higher than the supersoul, because whoever it is who is supreme and is absolute is not simply engaged in looking after your body for you. He's not going to simply do that for you. He's got a higher purpose in his life. So he is delegating to the supersoul. So he said, once we get rid of these dirty things in our heart, by meditation we can understand that there is a supreme absolute truth who is intelligent. We may not know who he is by our own meditation. We cannot find by our own meditation who he is. But we can understand that there's a superior intelligent force who is in control, who created everything, who is the controller of everything. So this is the purpose of this preliminary meditation. It's described in the first chapter of second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then the second chapter is called The Lord in the Heart, which describes meditation on the supersoul. And then coming into the third chapter, it's talking about devotional service. So in that way, Sukadeva Goswami very quickly comes on to devotional service. Now, here in the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna also does. So one thing about this verse, he says, neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances, can I be seen in this form. So in a few verses' time, in verse number 53, he's talking about his personal form, his two-armed form. He says, Naham Veda na tapasa, na danena na chejaya, shakya evam vido drashtam, drashtavan asi mamyata. So some of those verses you might remember some of those words you might remember from today's verse. The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that I can be seen as I am. So it's almost the same verse. But Prabhupada explains in the previous verse, number 52, where Krishna begins to speak, he uses the word sudurdarshanam. Prabhupada explains in the purport that this sudurdarshan idam rupam, this form, which is Krishna's personal two-armed form, means it's even more confidential than the universal form. So Prabhupada in this purport, I'll read this verse. Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Sudurdarsham idam rupam, drishtavan asiyan mama, deva apyasya rupasya, nicham darshana kankshinaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever asking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear. So Prabhupada talks about today's verse. He says, in the 48th verse of this chapter, Krishna concluded by revealing his universal form, and informed Arjuna that this form is not possible to be seen by so many pious activities, sacrifices, etc. Now here, the word sudurdarsham is used, indicating that Krishna's two-handed form is still more confidential. One may be able to see the universal form of Krishna by adding a tinge of devotional service to various activities like penances, Vedic study, and philosophical speculation. It may be possible. But without a tinge of bhakti, one cannot see. That has already been explained. Still beyond that universal form, the form of Krishna with two hands is still more difficult to see, even for the demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. They desire to see him, and we have evidence in Srimad Bhagavatam that when he was supposed to be in the womb of his mother, all the demigods came to see him. So here is it's such a nice part of the Bhagavad-Gita, this end of the 11th chapter, where Krishna he's revealing this universal form, which confirms absolutely for Arjuna that Krishna is in control. Krishna had said in the beginning of the chapter, you will be able to see everything that you want to see when you're in this universal form. He said he'll give him divine eyes so he can see it, but he's going to give him divine eyes to see what he wants to see. So what Arjuna was worried about? He was worried about killing his seniors, killing Dronacharya, his guru, killing Bhishma, his favorite grandfather, and killing so many of his family members, so many great kings. So Krishna has revealed that actually this is all his arrangement. This is all Krishna's arrangement. So actually, because of their actions, when Draupadi was disrobed, they actually brought this on themselves. They had to be killed. So Krishna had already arranged that they were going to be killed. And he explained to Arjuna that you can only be my instrument. Nimitta matram. Savya Sachin. So Krishna said to Arjuna, you can just be my instrument. So this is, Prabhupada uses this very nicely. He says, in the same way, we can also be the instrument of Krishna. So Arjuna can be Krishna's instrument by taking up his duty for Krishna's pleasure, killing all these people on the battlefield. So Srila Prabhupada explains that similarly we can be the instrument of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya has predicted that the chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra will spread to every town and village. So because Lord Chaitanya has predicted it, it will happen. But we can be like Arjuna. We can be doubtful and not take part. Or we can take part and we can take the credit. And Prabhupada says we can also take the credit for spreading the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra to every town and village. It will happen because it has been ordained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We can take up this order of the spiritual master and we can be an instrument. And in that way Krishna likes it because his devotees become glorious and he's very happy. Even they say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could have done the spreading of his own glories all around the world all by himself if he'd wanted to. But he wanted to leave some glories for his devotees in the parampara, because he wanted to continue to glorify the parampara. So he allowed even the holy name and the pure process of chanting the holy name appeared to be lost for some time until it was revived by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because he spent so much time trying to kick out all these cheating people, and even more so Bhaktisiddhanta, people in the name of being followers of Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were distorting the philosophy. But this is all part of Lord Chaitanya's plan to glorify his devotees. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has become even more glorious for his actions. He even challenged a so-called incarnation of Vishnu. Prabhupada talks about here about invented incarnations. So it's described by some of the devotees that in the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this was like quite some time ago, people were much more pious, and they were much more, because they were much more pious, they were much more powerful. So this so-called incarnation of Vishnu that he came about had some quite powerful yogic siddhis. He was able to create trouble for Bhaktivinoda Thakur's family. They became extremely sick, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur didn't give up. So this false incarnation can be revealed by the pure devotees because they will understand. Prabhupada explains here, you can understand that a false incarnation cannot create a universal form. You might tend to see a universal form. Even while Krishna was on the planet, he had to face some false incarnation. I forget the name. Starts with a P. Yeah. So, and he came face to face with him, and he appeared to have 4 hands. And he challenged Krishna to give him back his weapon. So Krishna said, "Okay, have my disc," and chopped off his head. So the false incarnations, even from that time, were coming, and they will keep coming. But Lord Chaitanya likes that his devotee is glorified by revealing these false incarnations and kicking them out. So Bhakti Vinod was very forceful in this regard. Bhakti Siddhanta was even more so. He was challenged as the lion guru. And for some time, some of these sahajiyas who were taking over the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda in the wrong way, they were trying to kill Bhakti Siddhanta. They actually sent after killing him. And one of his disciples dressed as him and ran away so that Bhakti Siddhanta could get away. And similarly, Srila Prabhupada has been uncompromising in preaching the philosophy. This is where it becomes hard for us to follow. We have to understand how to follow what Srila Prabhupada has done, how to present this philosophy very nicely, exactly as it is given by the Acharyas. Some people criticize and say that Prabhupada made adjustments because he brought women into the ashrams, into the temples. But he did so to give them a chance at Krishna consciousness. But on the philosophical plane, on this basic Shastric plane, you will find that not a principle has been changed. He adjusted some details in order to spread this philosophy amongst people who couldn't accept the Vedic culture as it was. He couldn't start by bringing in Varnashram Dharma. Although the process we're learning here is that Varnashram Dharma is a subsidiary process, is a way to get to devotional service. But when he came to America, and the culture was so degraded that people couldn't understand Varnashram Dharma. They could only see, the caste system in India, that's bad. We've got it better, we're all equal. But they couldn't understand that actually we're not on a bodily platform. We have equal opportunity to come to Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna affirms that here in the 9th chapter. Everybody has a chance to come to Krishna consciousness. But in terms of our bodily makeup, we have different duties. And these duties are very important for us because they're given by Krishna. So they're a way to purify us. But when Prabhupada came to America, nobody was able to understand these duties according to Varna and Ashram, these duties according to male body and female body, different ways of doing things. People couldn't understand and they couldn't accept. So therefore Prabhupada had to teach the pure process, the Bhagavad-Marga, of simply chanting the holy name and becoming purified by chanting the holy name. So this is the prescribed process for this age of Kali, this chanting of the holy name. So these other processes are slower processes. The process of Varnashram, this process of meditation on the imaginary universal form. They're slower processes, and Prabhupada had to go for the faster process, the immediate process, the guaranteed process in this age of Kali. So that's also the conclusion of the Bhagavad-Gita. You find in the purports of the Bhagavad-Gita, in fact, in Krishna's statements in the Bhagavad-Gita, in almost every chapter, Krishna himself brings us back to pure devotional service. And Prabhupada even more so. Prabhupada in every single purport will bring us back to pure devotional service and chanting. Because it is the only way we can purify our hearts in this age of Kali. This process described in the Srimad Bhagavatam of meditating on the universal form and then meditating on the supersoul. It's a yogic process. We cannot possibly follow it. As Prabhupada explained when he explained the process of meditation in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, that we cannot sit in a quiet place. We cannot concentrate our mind. Our mind will go anywhere, especially if we try and sit in a quiet place. So it is simply not possible for us to take this process of meditation in this age of Kali. So therefore we have to go by congregational chanting. So we promised to chant 16 rounds on Japamala, and this is Japa. But beyond that there is Sankirtan, which is congregational chanting, or otherwise it's described as complete chanting. But to be Sankirtan, we must be in the association of devotees. Japa we can do by ourselves, but it is not as purifying as being in the association of devotees. It's part of our daily practice, but it's also an essential part of our daily practice to be in the association of devotees. So Sankirtan also includes this class, chanting and hearing about Krishna, his words, and about his glories and about his activities, like in the Srimad Bhagavatam class. And it also includes the kirtan in the temple. So this is Sankirtan. It's the association of the devotees that's extremely important for us. So this makes our process perfect, and then we can become purified. So now there are some very nice work on Prabhupada as in his later days was then coming back to Varnashram Dham. As I said, when Prabhupada went to America, it was not possible for him to teach Varnashram Dham because nobody was prepared to accept it. But as we find later and later, he starts to talk about the farm communities. He talks more about simple living and high thinking. We start by preaching in the cities, we start by preaching where people are. But Prabhupada also wanted us to show what an ideal society is. Because if people can come to work in properly according to their duties, according to Varna and Ashram, then they will become purified by simply doing their duties. So it will help. It's like a safety net. Yes, simply by chanting the holy name, we can become perfect and we can go back home to Godhead. But we have to do it purely. And so sometimes if we fail, it's very nice to have a safety net, something that will keep us at least in the mode of goodness. Prabhupada explains the mode of goodness is a little like an airport. Transcendence is like flying in a plane. But if you want to fly a plane, it's very helpful if you start from the airport. It is possible to take off on a plane if you go along the road. It is possible to take off a plane even if you go along some bumpy fields, if you have the right plane and the right pilot. But it is much easier if you go to the airport. It is much easier to take off in your plane if you start from an airport. So that's why Prabhupada is explaining that although the pure process of chanting the holy name will take us straight back to Godhead, in order to come and maintain that purity, it's very helpful if we can come to the platform of mode of goodness. So yes, this platform of mode of goodness won't show us Krishna. It won't show us the universal form. But it gives us a platform where we can perform our sadhana, where we can become enthusiastic. Now here we find that even by sadhana we can't see Krishna as he is, because we can't. We have to develop that desire to see Krishna. So our sadhana will do that for us. By hearing and chanting, we will gain an attraction for Krishna. Prabhupada explains that You need to know something about Krishna if you're going to go there. If you want to go to Goloka Vrindavan, he says, even in the mundane sphere, if you get in your head that, oh, maybe I should go to America, you first need to find out something about America. What's it like? What's the climate there? What type of occupation can I do there? Should I get some training before I go there? How do I get my visa? So many things you have to find out. So similarly, if we want to go back to Krishna, back to Godhead, we need to find out about Him. So by hearing and by chanting, we find out about Krishna. By chanting, we come in direct relationship with Krishna. But Prabhupada also explains that this study of this hearing about Krishna is also required so that we can treat Him properly. It is not easy for us to simply chant the holy name of the Lord, chant the Maha Mantra, and realize that Krishna is personally present. That His words are coming off our tongue, He's actually dancing on our tongue. This is the perfection of realization. When we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna is dancing on our tongue because this name is non-different from Him. So by ourselves, we're not able to realize that. We can't realize that Krishna is dancing on our tongue because our name is there. Some people call the holy name Nam Prabhu. They address Him as a person because He's non-different from Krishna. He's another incarnation of Krishna. So we may or may not take up this process, but we have to endeavor to realize Krishna as non-different from His name. We have to realize Krishna's qualities. That will come by chanting the holy name, but it will also come by hearing about Him. We get to know about Him, and then we can re-establish our relationship with Him. So now, Srila Prabhupada also says how those who have come to this divine position actually are not that interested in the universal form. As we see from Arjuna, yes, he asked to see the universal form. Krishna revealed the universal form, what he needed to know. What he needed to know about those on the battlefield already being put to death by Krishna's arrangement. But the universal form itself was very frightening. It was huge, and it was so powerful. And all the warriors on the battlefield were being crushed between the teeth of the universal form. It's a frightening thing to see. Face to face, right in front of you. All those people that you know rushing into the mouth of the universal form. Oh, this was my friend, where did he go? It's quite frightening. Yes, Krishna, I want you back again. I can see that you're powerful. It's wonderful that you're powerful. As we said a couple of days ago, Arjuna was very happy to find out that Krishna was powerful, that he was the supreme, that he had so much power to do these things, so much opulence. But at the same time, he wanted back this Krishna who he knew. He wanted back this Krishna who he has a relationship with. He asked to see the four-armed form first. So Krishna reveals this four-armed form. And then he reveals his two-armed form. So in verse 49 he says, now you will see the form you desire. And then the following verse. Yeah. So then in the following verse, Sanjaya explains that Krishna then displayed his four-armed form and at last showed his two-armed form, encouraging the fearful Arjuna. So that's described as Somya, very beautiful. So we know the four-armed form of Lord Vishnu is also very beautiful. All the forms of Krishna are very beautiful. They always remain youthful, they're always very beautiful. When the devotees were painting some of the incarnations, Srila Prabhupada, they came to Srila Prabhupada and asked, how do we paint Varaha? He's a boar. Boar are not very nice things. But Prabhupada said, yes, but he's an incarnation of Krishna, so he's very beautiful. So you have to meditate on the form of the boar being very beautiful because he's an incarnation of Krishna. So they painted a very nice picture. You can see him. He's above the ocean, and he's like a boar. So some other people paint this Varaha form of Krishna as being half man with a boar's head. But that's not Prabhupada's instruction. That's not what the Shastra says. The Shastra says he came as a boar. So when the devotees painted for the Srimad Bhagavatam for Srila Prabhupada, the painting is of a boar with the earth on his tusks. And then later there's a picture with him fighting with Hiranyaksha. And how when a boar, he comes out of the water, so he's got water all over him. So he shakes his body, and the water landed on some of the sages, and they were in ecstasy because they got sprayed from the water, from the boar, who was Lord Varaha. So we have to understand that Lord Krishna is always very beautiful, even when he comes as a boar. But this particular form, Saumya Rupa, is Krishna's original form, his two-armed form. Prabhupada says in the purport. Similarly, Krishna knew that Arjuna was not interested in seeing a four-handed form, but since Arjuna asked to see his four-handed form, Krishna showed it, this form again, and then showed himself in his two-handed form. The word Saumya Vapu is very significant. Saumya Vapu is a very beautiful form. It is known as the most beautiful form. When he was present, everyone was attracted simply by Krishna's form. And because Krishna was the director of the universe, he banished the fear of Arjuna, his devotee, and showed him again his beautiful form of Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita 538 is stated, Premanjana Trita Bhakti Vilochanena. Only a person whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love can see the beautiful form of Krishna. So that's that same point again. This divine vision will come with the ointment of love. And so that's why the impersonalists, even though they are transcendentalists, they will not see, even the universal form, they will not see Krishna because they don't have this love. So then in the next verse, Arjuna replies, Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form. He says, O Janardhan, seeing this human light form so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind, and I am restored to my original nature. So Arjuna is very happy now because he sees Krishna in his original two-arm form. So then Krishna goes on to explain how this form is even more confidential than the universal form, how it can only seen by undivided devotional service. So he says, not by studying the Vedas, not by undergoing penances, not by charity, nor by worship. And then the following verse, the last two verses of the chapter are very famous verses. Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya aham eva vidorjana gyatam drashtam cha tatvena praveshtam cha parantapa. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service, which is Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya, can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and thus can be seen directly. Only in this ways can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So now the impersonalists like to grab this word enter into, which is praveshtam, and say, okay, we're going to merge with Krishna, good, that's what we want. But the acharyas explain that this praveshtam is in the same way pravesh, as we go through a door, as we enter the gates of a city. When we go into a city, we do not become the city, we enter the city. So in this way, when we enter Krishna's understanding, it means we come back into our relationship with him. And then the last verse I read out a couple of days when I was finishing that other class. So in this way, this 11th chapter finishes so nicely. Only by devotional service can Krishna be known as I am, as he is. And Krishna will reveal himself according to our desire, according to our love, according to our relationship with him. Okay, so now is time for you to ask any questions or give any comments. Hare Krishna Prabhu. The mic is just behind you.
How many times did Krishna reveal his universal form and to whom?
Well, this particular universal form he revealed only to Arjuna. They were explaining, I think who was explaining? Twice Krishna revealed to Yashoda. Once Krishna, when Krishna was a little baby, he yawned and Mother Yashoda saw a universal form in his mouth. But then Yogama overtook and she forgot. And then when Lord Balaram and the other cowherd boys came to complain to Mother Yashoda, Krishna's been eating dirt. And Mother Yashoda asked him to open his mouth. At that time she saw also the universal form. She saw herself even feeding Krishna. And then there was a part of a universal form that was revealed to Duryodhana when Krishna went to see him to try and ask him to give 5 villages to the Pandavas to avoid the fight. The Acharyas explained that it wasn't a real universal form, it was just a partial glimpse so that he could be aware of Krishna's potency. But still that did not work. So that's all that's been described, is just those 4 times. But this time is a specific one. When the impersonalists meditate on the universal form, they're imagining a universal form. It's not actually a universal form. So, just like that. That's all that's been described. Thank you. Anyone else? Hare Krishna.
Just like Boar incarnation, Matsya incarnation, other different incarnation, if somebody worship Boar incarnation or Matsya or Buddha incarnation, any other different incarnation, is same worship as Krishna worship or is it different?
No, so it's described by the Acharyas that there's the main incarnations that are non-different, that you can have a relationship, is Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Ram and Lord Narasimhadev. You can have a relationship. The other incarnations of Krishna are equally powerful, but it's not so much of a relationship you can have with them. Yes, you can worship them, but it's not that you can come into a loving relationship. So in terms of but at the same time, whichever form of the Lord is the form that you're attracted to is perfect for you. But the Acharyas describe that nevertheless the highest form is the worship of Krishna in Vrindavan. And the highest form of the worship of Krishna in Vrindavan is the worship of the gopis. Because their love is pure and unmotivated. In Vaikuntha planets, the Lord sometimes takes different forms, and the devotees sometimes take different forms for worship, for a lila. But their worship is not on the same platform. It's not the same personal. In the Vaikuntha planets, the Lord has his wife, Lakshmi, she never leaves him. You can't have a Madhurya conjugal relationship with him. He doesn't need friends. He has servants already. So you can serve him. You can't come to the highest rasa. But yeah, the potency of the Lord is the same, but the rasa will be different, with different incarnations with the Vaikuntha planets. And even with the different rasas in the Goloka Vrindavan, the rasa is different.
So we shouldn't disturb the person who is worshipping Kamavatar or Bhagavad-Gita.
No, I mean, in our Sampradaya, we specifically worship Radha and Krishna. But at the same time, we know in Lord Chaitanya's Leela, there were devotees who were devotees of Lord Ram. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tested Murari Gupta and says, no, you should worship only Krishna. But then Murari Gupta came back and said, no, I can't, I'm sorry. Even you've instructed me, still I can't do it. I'm so much attached to Lord Ram. So that made Lord Chaitanya very happy. He was just testing to make sure. But yeah, if someone's relationship is correct, I mean, I don't know who is worshipping Matsya avatar. I know in South India they follow more the different avatars. But I don't know who actually worships them exclusively and what their purpose is. We find that even the worship of in Vaikuntha is mixed with some desire. Like the devotees there, they desire to be close to the Lord, they desire to have a personal form like the Lord, they desire to be on his planet. Like that. They have it's called pure devotional service, but they have a particular way they desire to serve them. Whereas the gopis' service to the Supreme Lord is completely unmotivated. They don't imagine that they have any hold over Krishna at all. They simply want to serve Krishna however he wants. So they don't mind that Krishna doesn't become their husband. And they don't mind that Krishna goes somewhere else, he goes off with his friends. They don't mind. They simply are trying to serve him. They aspire to be there so that they can offer some service. And that's all, simply. Nothing more than that. So that makes it the purest and the highest rasa. Thank you. Any other over this side? You have to talk into the mic so that the listeners on the radio who don't want to come out in the heat can listen as well.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, can you please describe the four-arm form of Krishna in detail?
In detail.
Yeah.
You'll find there are many places his description is, but his description is much like Krishna. He wears a yellow dhoti. He's got his color is like that of a new rain cloud. He wears the Kaustubha gem on his chest. He has the Srivasta mark, which is the mark of Lakshmi. So those two things, in the Vaikuntha planet, everyone else also has four arms, but they don't have a Kaustubha gem and they don't have the Srivasta mark. So, but he wears the yellow dhoti. He's very beautiful. He has very beautiful hair. He always wears a garland down to his knees, a mixed forest garland, and he's always surrounded by bees following his garland, and like that. Very beautiful. You find many places. I think in this second canto, if you go through these chapters, you'll also get the description of the form of the Lord, and description of the super soul, who is also a four-arm form, is a similar description, except he's smaller. He's described in one place as 4 inches tall, and in one place the height of your thumb, because he sits in your heart. But the beauty is the same. There's a very beautiful stone one out on the side of the building now, when he's standing in the water. That's also he's very beautiful as well. So like that, he's also extremely beautiful. You can learn to meditate. And as described in the Shastras, when you meditate on the form of the Lord, you should meditate from his lotus feet. Because our desire is to serve him. So we start by meditating on the lotus feet to express that desire to serve. In the prayers of Queen Kunti, when she prays, she first meditates on his navel. She says, Nama Pankaja Nabhaya. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that this is because she's his aunt. So if she meditates on his lotus feet, he'll feel a little uncomfortable because she's his aunt, and he's trying to treat her as senior, even though she's trying to say, well, you're the supreme. So Prabhupada explains the process there, how we meditate on the lotus feet. Start with the lotus feet and then work our way up. Like studying the Bhagavatam, we start studying, the first canto is described as the lotus feet of the Lord.
There's a verse like Shantakaram Bhujangashayanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadaram Gagana Sadusham Meghavarna Shubhangam Lakshmikantam Kamalayanam Yogi Vijnanagambam Vande Vishnu Bhavayaram Sarvalokekanatham. There it is described.
Good.
Thank you.
No. Okay.
On the other day, they were talking about how Lord Chaitanya showed his universal form, and they didn't talk much about that. Would you talk a little bit?
I know he had an Aishvarya Leela where he was showing to devotees the forms they wanted to see. I didn't know about the universal form, but I know like he showed Lord Narasimha Dev he sat on the throne and the asan. He showed the four-armed form. To Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya he showed a six-armed form, which was 2 arms of Lord Chaitanya and 2 arms of Krishna and 2 arms of Lord Ram. So that's how he made the six-armed form. So that was a special one for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. 4-armed form he had a Leela where he showed for everybody. But yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it's about the 4 hours.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I have to say I haven't studied. I've read Chaitanya Charitamrita. I haven't read some of the other books. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't heard of it, but I haven't read all the books about Lord Chaitanya, so I'm not an absolute expert on it. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so we can finish this class. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for your patience. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki jai.